Hi, everybody. I want to talk a little bit about one of my very favorite situation comedies and how a reunion, I use that word very loosely, recently came about and how lame and disappointing it was. Let's start with the series. The series I'm talking about is The King of Queens, and I have here my DVD set, which is really cool the way it's in an actual IPS truck. And of course, it starred Kevin James, Leah Remini, and the late, I'm sorry to say, Jerry Stiller. Very cool the way this design is, by the way, for those of you who collect special DVD, TV series box sets. Back of the truck opens up to reveal all the seasons individually laid out on a wooden skid. All right. I love this show. I think it was really, really great. It was one of the latter day, more modern sitcoms that I think was as good as early sitcoms. It's right up there with sitcoms like The Honeymooners, I Love Lucy, The Odd Couple, All in the Family, all those great vintage sitcoms. I really thought this was well written, well acted, had good characters on there, and a lot of fun. And I still love watching this in reruns every night, even though I have this wonderful DVD set. But, I was really aching for a long, long time for a reunion. It would be so great if they could do, if not a brand new series, a rebooted series, then I was hoping that they could at least do one good episode, maybe one good pilot, or if not a pilot, a film, a one shot deal, even, reuniting all the characters back when Jerry Stiller was still alive. Uh, Jerry Stiller as Arthur Spooner was really hilarious, and he was the real core of the show. And it was so unfortunate to lose him, even though he lived to be at least 90, I believe, if not over 90, I don't recall. But we lost him last year in 2020. And the King of Queens show was on from 1998 to 2007, 9 seasons. So we had 13 years in there, hoping that maybe the cast would reunite. And I thought it would be a great idea. You had, I don't know, this show that was on TV that Kevin James did. That wasn't so good. I saw a few episodes. It was called Kevin Can Wait. It was a sitcom featuring Kevin James, and later on in the series, they had Leah Remini, his co-star from King of Queens, joining the cast. They kind of like tried to play it off as though it was almost like Doug Heffernan and Carrie Heffernan from King of Queens kind of get together on Kevin Can Wait. They kind of tried to make it like a half-ass, to tell you the truth, reunion of sorts between Leah and Kevin, and it didn't really work. It really didn't work. I used to see a couple of those episodes, seeing them together on screen, and I'd say, why don't you just do a King of Queens reunion? If you're going to have Leah Remini with Kevin James, why don't you just do an official King of Queens reunion already? You know. And Jerry Stiller was, around for a long time, and he always seemed pretty vital up until, the last year or so of his death. He always was there. Now, I don't know the personal reasons. I mean, maybe nobody wanted to do a reunion. Maybe Jerry Stiller had no desire to come back. Maybe Kevin James didn't want to do it. Maybe they didn't want to ruin a good thing, much like the Beatles. The Beatles didn't really want to reunite because they figured if they got back together again, it might not be as good as it was. I can respect that. The King of Queens went out pretty much on a high note. It lasted for 9 years. But so many series have been rebooted. I mean, you had the Roseanne series with Roseanne Barr, now rebooted, I think, as The Conners. And I hear that right now in the news, the show Frasier actually is going to be coming back as a rebooted series with Kelsey Grammer and all the cast members. Minus, of course, the dad from that show. That's what gets me. They wait too long. And then eventually somebody crucial to the cast passes on. Why did you wait? But that's not really the core of what I'm doing this video about. The reason I was inspired to do this video was because I heard recently in the news that finally, a year almost a year after Jerry Stiller's death, the cast members of King of Queens decided they'd get together and do a table read, where they kind of have a script and they actually read and together sit around a table and read. That's a lame way to do a reunion. We're all going to get together today. We're going to pick up our scripts. We're going to sit around the table and we're going to do a read. No, I don't want to see a table reading. I want to see an actual, episode. If you can't do a whole new rebooted series, and I think a rebooted series would have been interesting, it could focus on Doug and Carrie and what their life is like now with children. Maybe they, because the last episode of King of Queens finally showed them having children, and maybe here they could be 10 years later, maybe something like that. Whatever they did, 8, 9, 10 years after, with 10-year-old kids. What is it like with Doug trying to deal with his kids in school? And how is Leah Remini handling being a mother? I thought it would have been a great idea. So they never did that when Jerry Stiller was alive. And now here we are. Jerry Stiller is dead. He's been dead for almost a year. Now they decide we're going to honor Jerry Stiller. So this thing that happened in March this month, March of 2021, was a table read where we had Kevin James, Leah Remini, Patton Oswalt, who played Spence, Victor Williams, who played Deacon, the best friend, Gary Valentine, who played Doug's cousin, and Nicole Sullivan. They all got together again to do a table read, to sit around and do a script around the table. And I just found out something I didn't know going into this video. I just did some research. I didn't even realize. I had presumed that the script that they were going to be doing was a brand new story. They were going to read a brand new story. No, they actually, I just found out online, actually used an old script from one of the TV episodes that was called Cowardly Lion, Lyin, lion, get it? Cowardly Lion. That's the script they did. They took one of the TV scripts and they actually sat around doing table reads. And that was the idea for this so-called reunion. This was, you call this a reunion? Sitting around a table, reading an old script from King of Queens from the 1990s or 2000s, early 2000s. That's your reunion? Let's go through one of our old shows and read about it and honor to Jerry Stiller, who passed away a year ago. I'm sorry, folks. I love the King of Queens, and I really would have loved to see a proper reunion. But that's really lame, sitting around. Good to see these people. I mean, I've seen them online now, by the way. You can see them being interviewed. All of these people are now interviewed. The cast members are sitting around. They're being talked to. It's good to see all of them being interviewed and during the pandemic on screen, of course, and Zoom, seeing everybody together again. That's great. Where were you several years ago when we still had Jerry Stiller? It took Jerry Stiller's death a year later for you guys to get together, and all you're going to do is a cheap knockoff table read of a script from the old show? I'm very disappointed, but there's still time to do a new show, even though you waited too long and we lost Jerry Stiller. Okay, folks. Try the show out, The King of Queens, if you haven't watched it in reruns. It's good. Later.